Elsewhere, a door opened before the Lord of Sylvester. A man brought him a letter, and the Lord's expression shifted to a wicked grin after reading it. The imperial household had also turned against House Manhwa. He believed House Manhwa was finally finished. Their strength was minimal, and unless a necromancer suddenly appeared or their legendary founder returned from the dead, House Sylvester would win the upcoming war of noble houses easily. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Sir Polland bowed to the boy, crying and asking for forgiveness. He admitted his failure to stop Cyril's evil plans. The boy saw him as one of the last loyal men and told him to rise. The boy still needed Sir Polland's help, though the nobleman appeared miserable after spending a night in the dungeon. The boy told him to take a bath before they met in the Patriarch's office to discuss a new line of government. Sir Polland eagerly pledged his loyalty and service to the boy, expressing deep gratitude. The boy then looked out of his grand windows as his demon kitten hopped onto his shoulder, asking what the boy would do next after achieving vengeance. Leon, the boy, pondered this for a moment. After Sir Polland's bath, the nobleman raised concerns about impersonating Kirchel to fool House Sylvester. Leon, unfazed, summoned a strange demon that transformed its face into a convincing likeness of his uncle. The undead demon looked terrifying, causing Sir Polland to marvel at how easily Leon had mastered necromancy. Sir Polland, filled with pride, called the boy a true necromancer, something House Manhwa had lacked for years. However, Sir Polland pointed out that using Kirchel's undead form would eventually be discovered by House Sylvester, as the undead couldn't perfectly replicate speech, behavior, or handwriting. Leon agreed but revealed that the form he summoned wasn't Kirchel's corpse. It was a doppelganger, a creature capable of copying a person's appearance, memory, and even some abilities. To prove this, the doppelganger even mimicked Kirchel's ghostly flames. Sir Polland was stunned. Leon then recalled the doppelganger's death, explaining that the creature was a dangerous beast that imitated lost travelers and killed them and their companions. Despite its dark nature, Leon decided to keep it in his service, showing that he was willing to use anything to secure his position. Manhwa smiled as he watched the doppelganger rise at Leon's command, commenting on how kind it was for the progenitor to leave such a valuable minion behind. The doppelganger's empty eyes stared at Leon, but the demon's form glowed with brilliant blue eyes. Leon asked his mentor if he should be pleased with this progress, and Manhwa confirmed that the doppelganger was indeed a powerful creature. However, there were limitations. It could only transform into a target the necromancer had previously encountered, and if the target possessed stronger magic, it couldn't be reanimated. Leon was still a fledgling necromancer, and even if he trapped his uncle's soul, he would have no way to maintain control over it in the long run. Manhwa suggested that Leon leave House Manhwa temporarily to find a solution, but Leon refused. He couldn't abandon his bloodline or allow the Sylvesters to harm his people. When the demon questioned Leon's willingness to risk his life for them, Leon answered that he would die for them as he no longer valued his own life. Surprised, the demon dismissed the sentiment and refocused on more pressing matters. The doppelganger then shifted into its shadowy form, its cold silver eyes fixed on Leon. The kitten demon encouraged Leon to use the doppelganger as his undead servant. Leon, still unsure, asked if Manhwa knew the creature, and Manhwa confirmed that it was one of Welland's former undead minions. Leon would have to be cautious as the creature's temperament could be difficult to handle. Leon proceeded to form a demonic contract with the doppelganger, summoning the large, menacing creature. The kitten, full of energy, playfully told the doppelganger to rise. Manhwa scolded the creature for being confused, instructing it to take a new form before speaking. The doppelganger, after a moment's hesitation, transformed into a new identity. When the smoke cleared, the doppelganger had transformed into an almost perfect replica of Lion, mocking the demon for its earlier words. The demon, furious, demanded if the creature had a death wish. The doppelganger, now in Lion's form, smirked at the demon, pointing out that it was already dead. The two boys, one alive and one undead, locked eyes, creating a strange moment of connection. Meanwhile, Sir Polland with the young Lord Polland discussed the possibility of fooling the Sylvesters by imitating Kirchel's behavior based on his memories. The vassal believed this plan could work and promised to make it happen. Sir Polland then asked his lord why he was so determined to stay and defend the estate despite the obvious danger, especially when fleeing would ensure survival. It was the same question the demon had raised earlier. The boy revealed that his duty to protect the household was the only reason he would remain. The vassal was surprised but agreed to serve his lord to the best of his ability. However, he still wished to understand the boy's true motivation. The boy confessed that he had been questioning his own resolve, not knowing exactly what made him worthy to lead. He simply wanted to buy time to figure out the answer, feeling that by defending his home and its people he would eventually discover his true purpose. With a wicked smile, he vowed to protect his land and ensure he didn't repeat his father's mistakes. Later, the boy returned to his room with his mentor and the doppelganger, who muttered about how low the house had fallen, remarking that the young lord had a difficult task ahead. The kitten reprimanded the crow for addressing their young master so casually, reminding him that it was a taboo to speak to his contractor in such a manner. However, Lord Marba didn't seem to care much for such formalities, much to the kitten's frustration. The young lord admitted that he was indeed insensitive to social cues, which the demon had already suspected. The crow, a doppelganger and one of Welland's treasured familiars, was left to Leon as part of his inheritance. As an assassin with the ability to shape-shift into any target, the crow was incredibly useful. The boy thought this power could prove invaluable, but also noted the crow's tendency to clash with the kitten despite serving the same master centuries ago. Ignoring their bickering, Leon asked the crow if it could assume the guise of his late uncle, Kirchel. The crow easily agreed, and just then Sir Polland entered with an urgent letter from House Sylvester. The letter harshly reproached House Marba, stating that they had abandoned their duties for over a century. It declared war unless House Marba surrendered. If they refused, House Sylvester would attack in a month, laying waste to all in their path. The letter from House Sylvester declared war, and with only a month to prepare, the young lord was faced with an overwhelming challenge. The demon asked if he was frightened, suggesting they could flee to fight another day. But the boy wasn't afraid. Instead, he expressed impatience at having to wait an entire month before cursing the enemies who had killed his father. The kitten, amused, remarked that the boy was an unhinged contractor, but the young lord remained resolute. He was ready to face the enemy army, which would be much larger and more dangerous than his uncle's forces. This time, he would show no mercy and would use the undead to wipe out every life in his path. Meanwhile, the townspeople whispered about the disappearance of Sir Kirchel and feared it was an omen. They worried about the young lord's ability to handle the challenges ahead, but hoped his strength would see him through. Sir Polland reminded the villagers to be careful with their words, as loose talk could lead to danger. The villagers apologized and offered their condolences for the loss of the young lord's uncle. However, the boy reassured them that his uncle was still alive, merely ill. He planned to maintain the illusion of his uncle's survival to support their strategy. The young lord instructed Sir Polland to silence any witnesses and ensure their secret was kept. Leon appreciated Sir Polland's concern but insisted on going ahead alone to investigate something important. As they approached a building, the kitten sensed a powerful magic inside. The young lord instructed the vassal to stay outside and seal the door behind him. Inside, the place was filled with the smell of blood, dirt on the windows, and disarray. Among the mess, Leon noticed a person with cat ears and a powerful aura, short silver-white hair, bandaged neck, and a scarred chest. The kitten confirmed that this was the one they were looking for. The young lord approached the beast man, who was cleaning the blood-stained floor, and asked for a moment of his time. Before the beast man could respond, a woman suddenly kicked him, calling him Balter and accusing him of speaking rudely to their lord. She apologized to Leon, then slapped the beast man again. The young lord, uninterested in the woman, insisted on speaking to the beast man. The demon Marba, sensing immense potential in the beast, believed he could become a valuable vassal. The beast man, shocked and fearing more punishment, kept his head down, unsure if he had heard correctly. The beast man could not believe that the young lord had come for him, and he felt the dark aura pressing against him. The boy, with his ominous magic, healed the beast man's wounds. Leon asked for the creature's time once more. Meanwhile, the tavern owner was shocked that the young lord, who could have any favor, chose to speak with her slave instead. She believed the beast man had no right to grant the young lord his time. Leon, however, was not concerned with her opinions. He glanced at the lady, recalling that she had been present when his uncle was killed at the tavern, though she had not witnessed the event. He then began questioning her, first about the Duchy of Marba allowing the ownership of slaves, and second about why she still used his childhood title. His evil powers flared as he smiled, asserting that he was now the rightful Lord Patriarch of House Marba. He demanded that all slaves in the tavern be freed immediately, giving the woman only 10 minutes to comply. Enraged, the lady mocked him, thinking she could still use his uncle's influence against him. Leon, unfazed, ignored her mockery and turned to the wolf boy, who was unsure why he had earned the young lord's favor. The beautiful lady snapped her fingers, signaling a group of thugs to attack Leon, believing that Sir Kirchhoff would back them up. However, she didn't realize how serious a mistake she had made. Leon, normally forgiving, responded with dark magic, summoning goblin zombies to deal with the attackers. The goblins swiftly handled the thugs, and Leon, unfazed, retrieved a sword from one of them. As chaos surrounded him, he calmly cut down anyone in his way. The tavern owner, horrified, realized she had underestimated Leon's power, thinking he was just a weak boy. Meanwhile, the wolf boy, still unsure of his worth, was surprised by the young lord's words. Leon revealed that he saw value in the wolf despite the wolf's low self-esteem. The wolf had been bullied his entire life, suffering greatly for being different. His painful childhood memories surfaced as he recalled the beatings and torment. One day, the wolf had lashed out in anger, killing the children who tormented him. Though he couldn't initially accept it, he eventually realized that he had murdered them in a moment of rage. Overcome with guilt and fear, the wolf had fled from the truth. The wolf struggled with the idea that he might be a heartless monster like the other boys had claimed. Now, in the presence of another seemingly heartless creature, Leon, who had just killed those who tried to kill him, the wolf was unsure how to feel. Leon returned the weapon to the goblin and turned to face the arrogant tavern owner, who still clung to Sir Kirchhoff's name, thinking it would protect her. She boldly insulted Leon, believing he couldn't stop her. Leon, however, wasn't the helpless lord she thought he was. He declared that he would soon be the worthy patriarch of House Marba, and as dark magic gathered in his hand, the woman was filled with fear. She continued to curse him, but he quickly dealt with her, his face returning to its emotionless mask. Leon then turned to the wolf, who viewed him as a murderer but felt no fear. Leon asked the wolf's name and offered him a chance to serve him. The wolf, struggling with his identity, asked if he would ever escape the disdain he had always faced. Leon reassured him, offering him a place in House Marba, free from prejudice. The wolf, relieved, accepted, and Leon's first genuine smile confirmed the new bond between them. The wolf happily accepted his new fate as Leon's servant, eager to stand by his master's side. Meanwhile, in a grand palace, the crown prince, seated on his throne, was approached by a vassal bearing a letter from Count Sylvester. The prince, annoyed, couldn't understand why he should be concerned with a mere count when he had bigger matters to attend to. He expressed his frustration, knowing his father would be furious over the matter. The vassal quickly reassured the prince, explaining that his purpose was to deliver good news. The crown prince, now the most powerful man in the empire due to his father's poor health, listened attentively. The news involved House Marba, a house he had despised for years, and the vassal proposed that they join forces with House Sylvester to defeat Marba. The prince, though cautious about the power of necromancy wielded by House Marba, was intrigued. The vassal revealed that Marba was currently without any powerful necromancers, making it the perfect time to strike. The prince, sensing an opportunity, agreed, and the vassal was sent off with instructions to proceed. As the prince grinned wickedly, he reassured his ailing father that the empire's future was secure in his hands. Soon, everything in the kingdom would fall under the crown prince's rule, and he planned to rule with an iron fist. Meanwhile, at House Marba, Leon evaluated his new allies. He now had a doppelganger, an old vassal, and a beast man who was dressed more formally to fit in. The common folk still looked at the wolf boy with suspicion, so an artifact was placed around his neck to hide his identity. The beast man, Walter, was highly respected by Leon and his manor staff, but public opinion could not be ignored. To maintain a proper appearance, Walter's wolf ears were hidden by magic, and he was surprised when he reached up to find them gone. The group had to work together to advance Leon's cause, and the wolf boy understood the situation. Leon then decided it was time for his new team to make oaths of loyalty. He asked if they were truly ready to dedicate their lives to him alone. The vassal, Sir Polland, fell to his knees and swore his undying allegiance to Leon, pledging to serve House Marba for life. The display of loyalty moved Leon, though it was more than he expected. Even the doppelganger admired how easily Leon gained the vassal's loyalty. Leon explained that his demon companions were behind the house's domination practices. Finally, Leon proposed a pact bound in mana to solidify their bond. Walter, hesitant about the magical agreement, was reassured as Leon summoned his purple necromancy magic. The pact was sealed, and the lion Marba, a powerful house deity, was summoned to mark the ritual's completion. The giant red lion stood as a witness to the mana-bound pact, its intimidating presence filling the room. The lion asked those who swore allegiance to be bound to Marba, sealing their souls to the dominion of House Marba through a deep demonic binding. The lion commanded the vassals to look upon their lord, who stood before them glowing with purple energy. The sovereign of the undead had risen. The massive lion of Marba towered over the two vassals, leaving them speechless with awe. However, the young lord, Leon, felt that the theatrics had gone on long enough. He wanted his vassals to know they were respected, especially since they stood by his side in such perilous times. The great lion then announced that they had all agreed to the pact and made it clear that any breach of their bond with the undead sovereign would not be tolerated. Sir Pollen swore that he would never betray this pact, his fear and awe clear. The wolf boy, overwhelmed by the sheer density of mana in the room, found himself frozen in place. His kind usually adapted well to mana, but the overwhelming energy coming from Leon was too much. He began to tremble, questioning the true nature of his young master. Suddenly, the giant lion shrank and transformed back into a fluffy black kitten, leaving the wolf stunned. The kitten warned the vassals not to reveal his existence, as knowledge could mean life or death in their current war. The demon's form was visible only to those he chose, and at the moment that included Sir Pollen and the wolf boy. The demon found that the human nobles, including Uncle Kirchel, had little interest in such matters. The wolf boy remembered Uncle Kirchel as his former master. Meanwhile, the horrid lady of the bar had received a letter meant for Sir Kirchel, which would be valuable in their preparations. The young lord asked where he could find the letter, but the wolf had no idea. However, the doppelganger crow smirked, pulling a box from thin air, claiming it was the spoils of war. Inside the treasure chest, overflowing with jewels and stones, was the letter. The wolf boy found the letter with a triumphant gesture and opened it. The letter declared war on the House of Marba from the Honorable House of Sylvester, serving the Emperor's will. The letter stated that Marba had neglected its duty to Emperor Esteban von Arkham. They were given a month to surrender or face war. If they chose to resist, they would have to prove their innocence in battle. The letter was signed by the Lord of House Sylvester, Count Sylvester. The room fell silent as the gravity of this news sank in, leaving the group shocked by what lay ahead for them. They had a month to prepare, and the kitten questioned if that would be enough time. The young boy saw no problem with the timeline but had a mischievous idea. With his newfound ability to control the undead, he thought it might be fun to put this power to use. Looking at the curious doppelganger, the boy decided it was time for Sir Crow to take on a mission. Both the boy and the kitten smirked as they planned. Meanwhile, the soldiers of House Sylvester discussed the declaration of war on House Marba. They laughed about the pitiful sight of Lord Kirchel, who had clung to their breeches in desperation. Though the backstabbing lord was a nuisance, they had to keep him alive for now, as his incompetence worked in their favor. The Lord of Sylvester was curious about the young Marba heir, wondering if Kirchel had disposed of him. Leon von Marba, a guard, reported that there had been no news of the boy, and he suspected that Kirchel had him killed. The Lord of Sylvester smiled, seemingly satisfied. When the guard asked why he cared about a mere 14-year-old, the Lord responded with a deep question. What is the greatest injustice a human can face? The Lord explained that the greatest suffering is being confronted with an overwhelming foe with no hope of resistance. He believed such a fate would be the result of immense talent, which was why they had to be ready for anything. Back at Marba House, Leon admired the doppelganger's new face, impressed by its likeness. The crow found human speech foreign in his original form, but by absorbing the young lord's memories, he could mimic his speech with precision. Smirking, the crow boasted of his usefulness, claiming he was more valuable than mere magical force, unlike the kitten. This insult angered Marba and the kitten attacked the crow, but to his surprise, the crow's face reformed instantly, causing the boy to smile in amusement. The kitten, enraged, called the crow a worm. Vault, witnessing the scene, asked Sir Pollen if such drama was common, and the vassal advised the young boy to be quiet for his own safety. With only a month to prepare for the upcoming war, Leon handed Walter a sword and asked him to demonstrate his talents. If he failed, he would not be part of their cause. Walter, however, was determined to succeed and promised to overcome any obstacle. After securing his place as the Lord's trusted swordsman, Walter requested one wish, which the young lord granted. Sir Pollen was tasked with overseeing Walter's training, ensuring he learned alongside the knights of House Marba. As training began, Walter fought fiercely against a skilled swordsman, and the young necromancer focused on summoning the undead. Both boys worked hard, knowing that their lives depended on mastering their skills. The battle ahead would be tough, and neither could afford to be careless. Walter, the wolf boy, fought fiercely, slashing at the undead with his wolf flame burning brightly in his veins. His skills had improved significantly and he felt no longer shunned for his differences. He bowed before the young Lord of Marba, who welcomed him into House Marba as his first knight. Walter's joy was evident as he was now accepted as a true member of the house. A month later, the day of battle arrived and the leaders of House Marba stood before their army. A messenger delivered a message from Lord Sylvester, threatening war. Despite a peaceful offer, House Marba had refused to surrender, and the consequences would be dire for them and their innocent subjects. Sir Polland cursed their enemies, but their demon mascot warned him not to be baited. The enemies' roars, though loud, were filled with fear, and it seemed the House of Marba might have a chance despite their disadvantages. The old plan to use the late Sir Kirchall against them had been foiled, and though Lord Sylvester had the upper hand, it was unclear if his forces would remain steady. The kitten observed that mortals were fragile, and even small shifts in fortune could cause them to lose composure. Sir Polland trusted in the young lord's strength, who had proven himself far stronger than anyone expected. The young lord gathered vast amounts of necromancy mana, preparing for the coming clash with the undead. It had only been a week since the young boy learned to channel his magic, but already he could read the flow of mana with his eyes closed, impressing even the demon and the crow. The youth's talent seemed limitless, and the kitten joked that Lion could one day plunge the continent into chaos. The crow, more interested in snacks, was also excited by the potential, but the kitten urged Lion to aim higher. The young boy had already mastered controlling the undead in training and now sought more challenges. He was determined to avenge his father, and he passed the test, eager for more training. The demons agreed that the next step was dark magic, which Lion had some knowledge of but hadn't yet fully grasped. The kitten mocked the boy's previous lessons, declaring them not real dark magic. He encouraged Lion to forget what he had learned and focus on mastering true dark magic. The crow explained that necromancy was only one branch of dark magic, and a deep understanding of dark arts and mana was crucial to commanding the undead. Lion then conjured a bright purple light, showing his growing control over the magic. Lord Polland smiled, impressed by the boy's mastery, while the kitten huffed, declaring their relationship a bond of friendship rather than a simple lord-vassal relationship. The crow, loyal in his service, scoffed at the kitten's remarks, but both demons understood Lion's immense potential. The bickering between the demon and the crow continued, with the demon growling at the crow for speaking bravely behind the young lion's likeness. However, the young lord was more focused on the magic he would be learning next. The kitten warned him that before he could begin, he would have to venture into his subconscious, a place where vast reserves of magic energy lay hidden. This process would allow him to unlock unimaginable power, far surpassing the potential needed for a war between noble houses. The demon acknowledged the immense mana reserve in Lion, possibly equal to or even greater than that of House Marba's progenitor. Despite the risks, the young lord had no choice but to embrace this power to revive his household. Lion was ready for the challenge, willing to push himself beyond his limits. The method would require him to exhaust his current mana to its fullest. Once drained, his subconscious would reveal the way forward. As Lion drained his mana, he nearly collapsed from the effort, but Lord Polland rushed to catch him, worried about his leadership. The demon reassured him, saying Lion was one of the most gifted contractors they had ever seen. The crow added that Lion's potential was rivaled only by Wellens, but he would return to them soon. At that moment, Walter entered, excited about his success in mastering basic swordplay. However, his joy faded as he saw Lion collapsed on the floor and the wolf cried out in concern. The young wolf, full of faith, believed his lord would survive the process. Meanwhile, the kitten smirked, reflecting on how such immense talent had been unnoticed for so long, leading to the near collapse of the lineage. As the boy lay seemingly asleep, he had actually been transported to a dark, desolate place to begin his training. There he encountered a figure, his father. The man greeted him, explaining that it was time for them to walk and talk. Lion was stunned to see his father, who had already passed away at Alan's hands. This vision was merely a magical recording, not a living being. Lion learned that his father, like him, had struggled with a lack of potential, ultimately failing to gain respect or power. Despite this, the father expressed a desire to help his son. He revealed that he had created a spell to transfer his mana into Lion's reserve, granting him a vast energy reserve. Lion would only be able to use a portion of it at first, but it would aid him in becoming the house patriarch. However, Lion's father also warned of the dangers of taking on someone else's mana as it could overwhelm his mind. Despite the risks, the boy was urged to see himself as a blank slate ready to absorb this power. The young boy reflected on his father's words, remembering that no one else in their lineage had possessed such pure dark mana since Lord Well and Von Marba. The father demonstrated the power of their bloodline by gathering mana in his hands, showcasing the immense energy that flowed within him. The boy watched in awe as the surrounding ruins seemed to come alive with the rumbling of magic. This power was who Leon von Marba truly was. His father reminded him never to forget this power, and as the rumbling intensified, the boy felt the power swirling around him, settling in his heart. The father then gave the boy a powerful amulet named Greed, which would consume everything beneath the boy's feet with ferocity. He reminded the boy to hold onto this power and never forget it. As their reunion came to an end, the boy asked if they would meet again, to which the father smiled and said, "Of course." The boy swore to remember everything his father had taught him. The father's figure faded, leaving only a soft wish for his son's success. However, deep inside, he feared that the boy's power could lead to his downfall. Meanwhile, the three vassals waited for the boy to wake up, concerned about the toll the training might have taken on him. Sir Polland worried about the boy's health, but Marba reassured him, telling him to wait patiently and have faith in the young lord. Suddenly, a burst of purple aura filled the room, signaling the boy's awakening.